Am I audible? Hi guys. Cool. So let's start. Hi everyone. This is Aditya, a second year ISS student. I'm the Android lead at DSC NIE. So before starting, we'll try to keep this session as interactive as possible. So in case you guys have any doubts, just put it in the chat box, and maybe me or the core team would try to help you. So what is Android Study Jams? Android Study Jams is basically a community organized study group for people to learn how to develop Android apps. So, why should you get into Android? Why should you start developing Android apps? So, 87% of all of the devices that are all of the mobile devices on this planet are running Android. And it's really hard to imagine our day to day life without phones, right? And honestly speaking, it feels like a superpower to have, to know how to develop apps. To take whatever is there in your head to your phone is honestly a great feeling. um and it's not just your phone. So there are basically 2.5 billion monthly active Android devices, and it's not just phones. It includes TVs, tablets, watches, and even cars. Imagine how cool it would be to for you to make an app and your friends using it, right? So, what are the benefits of you in enrolling in this course? So you'll stand a chance to get your app published to Play Store. So during these sessions, if you build your own app, and then Google might select few of them, and then they'll promote it on Play Store, and they'll also promote on social media networks and in blog formats. And so it's really a big thing, right? A company like Google promoting your work. Then there is Solution Challenge, which is basically a contest organized by Google in collaborations with DSCs all across the globe. And so, where basically you have to develop solutions to day-to-day life problems using Google products, and you can take part in it, or you can find a solution using Android or something. Cool. So, what are the learning objectives for us during this course? Uh, you will be learning a new programming language, that is Kotlin. So native Android development could be done with two languages, that is Java and Kotlin. But back in 2017, Google announced that Kotlin would be the officially supported language for Android development. So we'll be learning that. We'll be building a variety of Android apps, not just one. We'll be building many Android apps. Apart from just learning how to develop Android apps, we'll be also learning the best practices to follow. Like when you get your app into production, the most important thing that you should keep in your mind is how efficient your code is. And then at the end of each sessions and at the end of Android Study Jams as well, I'll be sharing some resources. Like if you guys want to go ahead in this domain, you could just go ahead and explore them. Cool. So there are some prerequisites. You need a prior programming experience in any of the object-oriented language. Like if you know C++ or Java or Python or any of these, you are good to go. Otherwise, if you guys are having trouble, I mean, are having trouble in following these sessions, so there are basically two tracks. One is new to programming, and then one is prior programming experience track. So I'll be assisting you on the second track because, I guess we all have some prior programming experience. Uh, but if you guys are having trouble in following these sessions, just go ahead and finish the first one, and then come back to these sessions because, these sessions would anyway be available on our YouTube channel later, so you could finish them anytime. Um, the key thing is, if you finish the second track, then you will be eligible for a certificate. If you finish the first one, there is no certificate. If you finish the second one, then only you will be eligible for a certificate. Cool. So other prerequisites are a computer and internet connection, and you will also need an Android device and a USB cable. So the last part is optional. You could use software known as emulator as well to run your apps, but I'll be using Android device because if I run both Android Studio and emulator simultaneously on my device, it will like just catch fire. I mean, if your PC supports running both simultaneously, just go ahead. Otherwise, you'll need a device and a cable. So there are two tracks. Each of the tracks are divided into units, and then each of the unit consists of a pathway. So a pathway is basically a set of activities which will help you to learn a particular skill. So like an activity could be anything, including a video or a code lab or a quiz. So you have to complete all of them to earn a badge. So in total, there are 10 pathways in the second track, that is prior programming experience track. One more thing, like you could complete these pathways without signing in. So keep in mind to sign in, because like if you don't sign in, your progress won't be saved. Cool. So at the end of each pathway, there is a quiz. If you complete the quiz, you get a badge. So in total, there are 10 badges in the second track. And every time you earn a badge is automatically gets showcased on your Google developers profile, which you can later use to like showcase your skills on any social media platforms, or like even add it to your resume and all. Cool. So any doubts until there? Sorry. Okay, so we'll start in case there are no doubts. Guys, if you have any doubts, just ask. So we'll start. Just go to this link and you will land to the Android Study Jams page, um, and just sign in, and you will earn your first Android badge. So this is a limited edition Android Study Jams badge. So just go ahead and sign in. You will earn your badge, first badge. Cool. So what is your favorite programming language and why? Just drop in the chat box. Which is your favorite programming language? I guess most of you guys like Python or maybe C++ for those into competitive programming. Hmm. C++, cool. Just C++, one C++. What happened to Python, guys? Yeah, I see Python. Cool. So what we'll start with Kotlin. So what is Kotlin? Kotlin is a cross-platform statically typed general purpose language. It is designed to be interoperable with Java. So what this means is, what interoperable with Java means is like all of the libraries or classes that are already there in Kotlin, you could use it with that are already there in Java, you could use it with Kotlin code. So like all of the if you want to use a library, a Java library which is written in Java, in your Kotlin code, you could do that. So there that is. Kotlin is a modern programming language that helps developers to be more productive. It is expressive and concise. So Kotlin reduces a lot of boilerplate codes for you. So I'll give an example. Like while developing projects, Android projects in Java, suppose we had to create a class with two variables. For that, we used to set getters and setters methods, and it used to be like 50, anywhere between 10 to 15 lines of codes. With Kotlin, it's just one line of code. So you see the difference, right? From 15 lines to just one line. Then Kotlin is safer to code. So a lot of app crashes, Android app crashes that happen in Android is because of null pointer exception, which is basically when you create an object and don't initialize it, and then later like try to reference it or use it in your code. Null pointer exception is also known as a $1 billion mistake, because it has caused like loss of billions of dollars. So Kotlin is a null safety language. So there is no null pointer exception. And there are examples like apps like Zomato and Duolingo switched to Kotlin from Java, and the stats were like 30% or so of their app crashes were reduced. Next is Kotlin is interoperable with Java. We have already discussed this one. Like all of the libraries which are already written in Java, if you want to use it with Kotlin code, you could do that. Back in 2019, Google announced that Kotlin Android development would be Kotlin first. What this means is all of the newer libraries or functions that Google will be creating for Android, they'll be keeping Kotlin in mind. So they'll be developing it with Kotlin users in mind. I mean, they'll still support Java and all, but obviously learning Kotlin over Java would give you a head start. Cool. So any doubts? Any doubts, guys? Just ask. Um, I guess there are no doubts. How come you guys have no doubts? Um, cool. Now we look at some of the logistics which we will be using during this session. So the first one is Kotlin Cones. Kotlin Cones is are a series of exercises to get you familiar with Kotlin syntax. So it's basically like it's the environment. This is the environment for Kotlin Cones. I'll just show you guys. Wait. Yeah, so just go to this link and click on Start Kotlin Cones. Click on Start now. So this is the environment. If everything is visible, or I'll wait. Yeah. So this is the environment. You have questions here. You have the problem statement here, and then you have some useful links. So you have to complete these exercises on your own. There are no tutorials. You have to follow these links and then like learn on yourself. So it doesn't spoon feeds you everything. Um, so then there is Playground, which is basically an online sandbox to explore Kotlin. So like it's there so that if you want to get your hands on Kotlin and don't want to like download a bulky IDE, just try out Kotlin. You would go ahead and use Kotlin Playground. For this session, we'll be using Kotlin Playground. So you just write your code here and click run, and it works fine. Cool. Yeah, so this is the environment. So try to complete. Also, Cones doesn't count towards your certificates. So it's up to you if you want to complete it or not. It's just there so to help you to learn the Kotlin syntax. So like, mm, can we use VS Code for development? I can even open Android on my laptop. So asked. I guess there might be some plugins which you can install to use to develop Android apps on VS Code, but like I recommend Android Studio. You could go ahead. There might be some articles on Google. Um, Link for the tracks. This is the track. Wait, there is a link in the description as well. Uh, I'll just post it again. Sorry. So this Kotlin Cones doesn't count towards your certificate, uh, but I'll recommend just try to complete at least these three. I'll assist you on as many as I can during this session, but like it's up to you if you want to complete it or not. Because like anyway, I'll be discussing syntax during the development. So yeah, then there is this playground. Cool. Any doubts again? Because we'll be starting with Kotlin now. Any doubts, guys? Cool, I guess no doubts. So let's start with Kotlin. So like C++, and Java, Kotlin programs also Kotlin compiler also needs to know the starting point of your codes. So there must be a main function in all of the programs, all of the Kotlin programs. So like in C, we start with main function. It's the same. In Kotlin also we start with the main function. So the syntax to define a function is we start with the keyword fun, because like Kotlin is fun. Yeah. So start with keyword fun, then the name of the function, then brackets to accept parameters, and then parentheses. So the functions to print anything, there are two functions to print anything in Kotlin. That is, one is println and one is print. Println stands for print line, which basically inserts a new line character at the end of the string. So this string will be printed as hello world \n. So you don't have to write \n specifically. Print just prints this string as it is. One more cool. So this should output, yeah. So this outputs hello world, then \n, a new line character, and then the hello. What do you notice about Kotlin? First is obviously the main function. What else? Like, what else do you notice here? Sorry. So there is no semicolon in Kotlin. It's optional. Like JavaScript, it's up to you if you want to give a semicolon or not. This will work just fine. And there are no indentation things in Kotlin. Yeah, no semicolon. Nice. Semicolon is optional. I mean, you could, if you give a semicolon, it will work just fine. So there are two ways to declare a variable in Kotlin. So there are two keywords which we can use to declare a variable. First is var and then is val. So var stands for variable and val stands for value. Var is a mutable variable, whereas val is an immutable variable. So what this means is, like, all of the variables declared with var keyword could be changed further in our code. So here if I do counter equal to 6, this code will work just fine. But if I try to do like name equal to Rebecca, name equal to Aditya, something like that, this code won't compile. So because it's immutable, you can only assign immutable once, value to an immutable variable once. So okay, one more thing, like in Kotlin, it's different. So Kotlin is a statically typed language. What this means is, like, the compiler needs to know the data type which will be stored in the variable. So here, suppose we are declaring the name variable, so the compiler needs to know what type of data type this variable will be storing. So we have to declare the data type, that is string. But there is a but. Um, it's also optional in Kotlin. So it's up to you if you want to like declare the data type or not. If you don't do it, what happens is, under the hood, Kotlin compiler like figures out what data type this is, and like puts the code there. So it's still statically typed language because it needs to know the data type, but it's up to you. You can give it or not. Kotlin compiler will help you with that. So I'll just give you a demo with this one. So yeah, let's go to Kotlin Playground. Let's declare a variable with var keyword. Let's do it name. Then we do the data type which this variable will be storing, which is string. Then we do equal to, and let's name it DSC. Cool. Then again, let's change this variable. Let's print it first. So print name. And then again, let's change this variable. Let's try to change this variable name equals to, let's do Aditya. And then again print it. Cool. So this should work fine because we have used var keyword. So our like, should I increase the font size? Wait. So our code will just work fine. But like if here we change var to val, sorry, and then like try to declare it again, this code won't compile. So see, the val cannot be reassigned. So any doubts? Sorry. Not able to see editor. Playground is not visible. Um, oh, okay, sorry, wait. Mistake. Now it should be visible. Okay, cool. Okay, I'll explain it again then. Sorry guys. So yeah, so let's do first with var. We declare a name, we declare a variable name, and we initialize it with a string DSC. Then we print the name, and then again we, yeah, again we try to like assign it a variable, a string that is Aditya, and then try to print it. So this code should work fine because we have used mutable variable that is var. Now let's change it to val. Now if I try to run this won't compile. So you can see val cannot be reassigned. So that's the error. Okay. Yeah, you can get an Android emulator without Android Studio. So there are various Android emulator like BlueStacks or I can't remember more. But BlueStacks there is, you can use it, or there is ADB. So there are. I mean, just search on Google, you'll get one. Cool. Let's get back to the presentation. So now the parameters and return types. So this function's work is to like add accept two numbers and then add it and then return it. So we start with fun keyword because this is a function, then the name of the function, then the parameters this function would be accepting. So this function would be accepting parameters a and b, both of which are of type int. And then at the end of this function declaration, we declare what type of data this function would be returning. So in our case, it's returning int, so we do int. And it is after declaring the Windows run on Arch Linux. Yep. I mean, they should be available for Linux. But I have not used Arch Linux, so I can't confirm. Just Google once. I use Ubuntu, and on Ubuntu it's there. So any doubt on this? Sorry. Cool. What's interesting about these variable declarations? So we have discussed already. Like first is there are two keywords which you could use, var and val, according to our need. So val is like actually like const int, which we declare in C. Like we do const int is equal to 5, and then we later if we try to change that int, it is not possible, right? So it's the same case as with val. And we also don't need to like specify the data type of the variable. It's up to you, but it's always a good practice to specify the variable data type. Cool. Now let's get to if and else conditions. It is same as C, C++, Java. I guess most of you guys already know, so I won't discuss that. Then there is when. When is new thing. When is basically a switch version of Kotlin. So we have when, then we have parameters x, and according to this parameter, this function would get executed. So like if x is 0, this function would be executed. If it is 1, this one will get executed, and so on. One thing I'll say, like when is a lot more useful than switch. We'll explore it later. It has a lot more function than switch, general switch statement. Cool. Then there are classes. So like one thing, if you guys are not understanding some points of these, that don't worry. Like I'll explain the syntax again while developing the Android apps. So there are classes. So declare a class. There is one. This one is one syntax. Uh, this one. We start with class v keyword, then the name of the class and the variables which this class will be storing. But one more thing, in Kotlin we could declare a class using it this way as well. So we do class, then name of the class, and then in parentheses all of the variables with this class will be storing. So we could do it this way. And then to initialize an object of this class, we do first start with val s, and then, so those of you familiar with Java, in Java we used to do something like new square. But in Kotlin, it's just name of the class, and then we pass the values. And then if we do print as side, this would just work fine. So I'll just give a demo of this in the playground. Um, yeah. So in Kotlin, you can declare a class inside a function. You can also declare a function inside a function. You can pass a function to a function. Kotlin is a really cool language. So this should output 10. So it outputs 10. Cool. Next up is collection. A collection is basically a group of objects which you can access using index or something. So there are many type of index. Some of them are like one is list, then set, then map. List is basically the same as list in Python or array, you guys might know. So list is a group of elements which you can access using an index. Then there is set. Set is similar to list, but one difference is like all of the elements of set should be different. So we can't do here, like we can do 4, 4 and 5, 6. This won't work. All of the elements of the set should be unique. Then there is map. Map is like dictionary in Python. So a map consists of key and value. So each of the key maps to a value. So here A maps to 10, B maps to 20, and all of these, the root hierarchy for all of these is collection. Cool. So next we'll start with Kotlin Cones. Any doubts until here? Just put it in the chat box. We'll start with Kotlin Cones. Sorry. Any doubts? Any doubts? I guess no. So we'll start. Cool. So just go to this link. I'll just paste it again. Just go to this link. and click on cones. Click on cones tab and click on start. So we'll start with the first one. So the problem statement is, take a look at function syntax and make the function start return the string OK. Um, in the task, the functions to do is used that throws an exception. Your job during the cones will be to replace this function invocation with a meaningful code according to the problem. So we have to replace these to do's with appropriate statements. So I'll just pretend that I don't know any of these and I'll learn with you guys. So let's click on these links and let's explore it. So is everything visible? I should increase the font size. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, this will be fine. So a syntax to declare a function, we have already discussed this one. We start with the keyword fun, then the name of the function, then parameters, and the return type that this function will be returning. There is one more cool thing in function that is in Kotlin, that is function with an expression body and inferred return type. You could do it this way. So here we are returning a plus b, right? So we do fun sum and then parameters and then equals to and whatever the value this function would be returning. So here it is returning a plus b. So if we just do a plus b, this code will just work fine. Yeah, so this will be it for R. So so we have to return a string OK in this exercise. So what should be done here? Any guesses? Any guesses, guys? We simply do quotes and then quotes we do OK because we have to return OK, and then this function will be returning OK. So we could just do equal to and whatever the value that should be returned. Yep, right. Okay. So let's run this and this should work fine. Cool, it has passed. Let's do next code. Sorry. So default and named arguments help to minimize the number of overloads and improve the readability of the function invocation. The library function join to string is declared with default values for parameters. Cool. So what we have to do in this question is, so collection is basically, we have already discussed collection, right? Collection is a root hierarchy for all of the collection types in Kotlin. So collection includes like lists or set or map. For all of those collections, the root hierarchy is the class collection itself. So what this function is doing is, we have to declare a function which takes a collection named option and then joins. We have to join all of the elements of that collection uh, separated by comma. So we have to output a result like this, something like this. It should start with opening bracket and close with closing bracket, and then all of the elements should be like separated by comma. So there is a predefined function in Kotlin that is joined to a string, which we'll be using here. So since we'll be returning this string, so there are some of the parameters predefined in Kotlin. So let's just first explore what is default and named arguments. Yeah, so function parameters can have default values which are used when you skip the corresponding arguments. This reduces the number of overloads compared to other languages. So while declaring a function, we could do fun read, and then suppose we are declaring this parameter b, which is of type array byte, and then there is one more variable which is of type int. So we could do something like in the function itself, we could initialize it to some value, so that when calling this function, even if we don't pass the value for off variable, this function would work fine. So the default value is set to 0. Cool. So let's see how it will be using here. So here in join to string, there are three of the parameters, variables has all of these three parameters default values have been already set. So the separator has the default value comma, then the prefix has the default value empty string, and the postfix have the default value empty string as well. So since we have to return a string of this type, we should like comma is already there, because like in separator there's comma already defined by default, so we don't need to like pass this separator in our function while calling this function. Mm, Sorry. So for prefix and postfix we'll have to pass, because it is defined as empty string here, but we have to define as opening and closing brackets. So I'll just show this one in on the playground. So let's go to playground. Cool. First, let's define a list. So let's do var list equals. So to initialize a list in Kotlin, we have to use the function list of. We do 1, 2, 3, and then we have to output a string. So first, let's just yeah. So we have to attach all of sorry, like combine all of these elements separated by a comma, and starting with opening bracket and ending with a closing bracket. So let's do print ln, then we do list, then lib dot, and what was the function? Join strings, right? Join two strings. Sorry, two strings. Let's first run without passing any argument. So this would output just 1, 2, 3, because like prefix and postfix is defined. Okay, so there is one. Okay, so we have to like here, these elements should be string. Now if we try to run this one, what? There is no S. Cool. So this outputs 1, 2, 3. Now suppose we like, since we have to get a string with opening bracket and closing brackets, we do prefix equals, and then postfix equals closing bracket. Now this will print a string in JSON format. Yeah, it prints string in JSON format. So let's do the same in this exercise. Okay, it should not be visible. I'll just increase the font size. Yeah, so now this one should run. Yeah, this passed. So any doubts? Also, don't worry if you are not getting any of these. So this is just to let you familiar with the Kotlin syntax, and you don't have to worry if you are not getting some of these, because like even for like starting few apps, it's really easy. if you don't need to know too much of Kotlin syntax, you'll be fine. I'll be explaining these things again. If any doubts, just drop in the chat box. Sorry. I guess there are no doubts. We'll just move on. Cool. So this is the same as default arguments. That is like we don't need to like specify all of the arguments um, during a Kotlin code. So let's all these Java overloads can be. So this is a Java snippet. This is how we used to write in Java. All these Java overloads can be replaced with one function in Kotlin. Change the declaration of the function foo in a way that makes the code using foo compile. Cool. So in Java, for like, so suppose we are declaring a function with three which accepts three parameters, which is string name, int number, and then boolean to uppercase. In Java, suppose we had to make this function run also if someone passes just two arguments or one argument. We had to like declare function for all of these parameters. So suppose someone just passes name and number, we had to declare a function for that those two, and someone just passes like name and two uppercase, we had to declare a function for just those two. But in Kotlin, it's not the case. With default variable, with default values, we can like just, so this line of code is equivalent to just these two lines of codes in Kotlin. So you see the difference. So any guesses what should be the solution here? What should we do? So like we have to just initialize these parameters to a default value, so that even though someone calls this function, like here we are calling function foo with just one parameter, this function works. It takes all the default values of int and two uppercase, and like we have here we have passed two parameters. This would work. Here we have passed like two parameters, three parameters, all of these would work. So we just have to like declare the default values for these parameters. So we initialized, sorry, what? Yeah. So we just initialize it to a. We initialize the number to 42, since there is the default value is 42 here. We initialize the variable in number to 42, and then we initialize this boolean to false, because like the default value is false. Cool. Now if we run this, so you see all of these errors are gone, right? Those red errors. So if we call this function with just one parameter, this function would just take the default value of number as 42 and two uppercase as false, and this would work. Cool, it works. Any doubts? So I guess no doubts. Guys, if you guys have any doubts, just like go back to that exercise and explore these links. All of there are everything in these links. Like opening a new tab, it's more than enough to for you guys to learn like these syntax, and just go ahead and explore these. Cool, we'll go on with lambdas. So lambdas are basically anonymous functions. Um, so in this exercise, Kotlin supports a function styles of programming. Read about higher order function and function literals. Let's explore it. Cool. Higher order function and lambdas. Kotlin functions are first class, which means that they can be stored in variables and data structures, passed as arguments to and returned from other higher order functions. So you can in Kotlin you can store a function in a variable, or you can pass a function to another function, or you can store a function in a data structure. It's really cool. You can do anything with functions. So what are higher order functions? Higher order function is a function that takes function as a parameters or returns a function. So any function that takes function as a parameter is known as higher order functions. So let's get back to this exercise. So what we have to do is this function's work is like it is passed a collection. A collection we have already discussed. It is passed a collection, and this function's work is like to uh, know if there are any even numbers in this collection. If there are any even numbers in this collection, it's this function should return true, otherwise this should return false. So the return type is boolean. Wait, I'll just do this. So the return type is boolean for this function. So how we do this, how we use a higher order function. So we start with collections, we type dot, and there is a predefined function in Kotlin. Pass a lambda to any function to check if the collection contains an even number. So any is a higher order function in Kotlin. So to pass a function to this higher order function, we start with curly braces, and then we have to write our function here. So whatever function we write, this any function would execute this function for each of the elements which are in this collection. So we start with it, which stands for iterator, which will basically contain elements of this collection once, like all of the elements will be there once at each at a time. So we start with iterator. So to check if the element is even or not, we do modulus, we do mod. So if iterator modulus 2 is equal to 0, this function automatically will return true. So yeah, any doubts? Let's just run it. This would work fine. So what happens is this iterator has a value of elements of this collection every time, each at a time, and then it checks with modulus 2 if it's equal to 0, and then if it is 0, it returns true, and if it is not, it again executes the same function for other element. Yeah, it is inbuilt. The any function is inbuilt, but this function you can define by yourself. This function you have to define by yourself. So any doubts, or we'll move on? So if I want to, like, I could show this in playground. Wait, I'll show this one in playground. So let's keep this list. Let's do this 1, 2, and 3. And then just print if this list contains an even number. So we do list dot any, and then we do curly braces, and then it modulus iterator modulus 2 equals 0. If this is true, this would print if there is any even number, this should print 2. So this should actually print true. Yeah, it prints true. Now let's just remove 2. Now this would print false because there are no even numbers in our collection. It prints false. Cool. Let's get to our next exercise. Next is string. So read about different string literals and string templates in Kotlin. Raw strings are useful for writing regex patterns. You don't need to escape a backslash by a backslash. Below there is a pattern that matches a date in the format 13.06.1992. And this is the pattern. So what is raw data type? Raw strings. So let's see. Suppose we have to print hello, and then we do backslash n, and then do world. Now this would print hello on one line and then world on other line, because we have inserted, sorry, backslash n at the end or in between our strings. Now what if we wanted to print this escape character as well? We want to print this backslash n as well. So in C++, we insert another backslash n, and then this backslash n would be printed. So now if we run this will print hello, backslash n, and then world. Now what is raw syntax? Raw syntax is basically you insert two more quotes at the starting and the end of this string. Yeah, and this becomes raw string. So whatever is in between these quotes would be printed, no matter if it's escape character or anything else. So here with normal quotes it should print hello on one line and world on other line, but since we are using raw string, this would print hello backslash n and world. Let's see. Yeah, it prints hello backslash and world. So to use regex in Kotlin codes, these raw strings are really useful. Really useful because like in Java or C++, we always had to again and again insert another backslash n. So before this backslash n, we had to insert another backslash n or so. But in Kotlin, you could just like do three quotes, and then whatever is inside is just a string. Doesn't matter if it is like what do you call it, escape character or anything else. So here we have to like write a regex which matches this string, that is 13th June and 1992. So this is the regex for this date. So if you like, so can anyone like solve this one? How do we do it? Any guesses? So you have to guess from this one. One hint, like here we have two digits, and so we do D and then curly braces and then 2. So this will match with 2 of the digits. Any guesses how we do this one? How we match with this one? So we start with declaring a variable which contains all of the months, a string that which contain all of the months, which is like Jan, Feb, March, April, all of those. And it's like here we can see, like to match with 2 digits we do backslash D and then curly braces and 2. So to match 4 digits we do backslash D and then curly braces and 4. So we start with 2 digits, so it should obviously be backslash and then D and then curly braces then 2, because we have 2 digits here. Then we have to match this string, but before that string there is a space, so we do space, and then we have to match with month. So okay, to insert a variable inside a string in Kotlin, we could insert a variable inside a string. So what we do is we do $sign and then curly braces and then month, which is the name of the variable, name of this variable. Now this is like backslash D curly braces 2 then space, and this one would match with any of these strings. So if it's Jan, this will match. If it's March, if this will match. Again at the end there are 4 digits, so we do space and then we do backslash D and curly braces 4. So now this would work just fine. Also, if you don't know the answer, you could always click on show answer and you'll have the answers. Just like try to run it and it works, passes all of the cases. Cool. So any doubts? Sorry. So this one, so I guess we are running out of time. We have just 4 minutes left. This one would be the last exercise. Rest you guys have to complete on your own. It doesn't matter how many you complete, just like, or even you complete later or not. It doesn't matter. Like, but I'll suggest just try to complete them. So yeah, this one we already discussed like how Kotlin reduces a lot of boilerplate codes for you. So like I said like suppose we had to declare two variables. So we had to declare a class with two variables, that is name and age. First we had to set the constructor, that is person, and then we had to set these getters and setters methods. So this get name and get age. So this much line of code we have to write in Kotlin, and we'll see how less it is. So like to define a class in Kotlin, we could just do brackets, and we are using here two variables, right? So we could do var name and then colon and then string and then comma. Then we can do var age int, and that's it. This is it, guys. This line of code is equivalent to these line of code. So you see how much Kotlin like reduces boilerplate codes for you. One more thing, like these getters and setters methods, if you want your compiler to generate these getter and setter codes for you, you will have to use a keyword that is data before starting the class itself. So we use data and then we do the class. So what this does is because we have specified the keyword data, the compiler under the hood generates all of these codes for us, and this would work just fine. Cool. So we'll get back to our presentations because we are running out of time. We have just 2 minutes left. Um, yeah. So okay. So what all did you notice about Kotlin? What cool things did you notice about Kotlin? What did you like about Kotlin? What did you didn't like about Kotlin? Just like hit it in the chat box. Anything works fine. Like it's cool. So guys, share whatever you have learned on on our social media platforms. These links, we are on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. All those links are in the description. You guys can just go ahead and follow us there and just share whatever you have learned. And in session 2, we'll actually get our hands on Android. We'll start building actual Android apps. So this session was all about Kotlin. From session 2, we'll start learning Android. So stay tuned for session 2. Cool. Anything you guys want to say until here? Kotlin OP, Kotlin OP. And there are a lot more cool features in Kotlin. We have just like, it's just tip of the iceberg that we have discussed. Like Kotlin, like it's really cool in Kotlin, like it adopts all of the cool things from all of the other programming languages. Like it has some features from Python, some from Java, some from C++, like some from JavaScript, and like you could use it for all the purposes. Like you could use it for cross-platform or general purpose, like could use it to develop web apps, or even nowadays you could use Kotlin for competitive programming. There are a lot of competitive programming contests going on Code Forces. I may start part of today's session. How can I get it? These sessions would be available on our YouTube channel publicly. You guys could just come back and access it anytime. Any other questions? One more thing, guys. The deadline to complete this and to get a certificate is 25th of January. Before that, you have to complete the prior programming experience track, and then only you will get a certificate. Soon, probably next week. So we'll be doing like 5 to 6 sessions for each of the pathways. So for most of the pathways, and yeah, soon we'll be doing the next session soon. Any other doubts? Sorry. So I guess you guys don't have doubts. Also, in case if you are having trouble in completing the first track or the second track, any of the tracks, just join our Discord community. The link is in the description, and we'll be happy to help you. Cool. So let's end this session. Bye, guys. As you said, Kotlin is interoperable. Will you be converting Kotlin? No, code to Java. No, the thing is, it is uh, so it is interoperable with Java, which means like whatever Java codes or libraries are already there, if you want to use it in your Kotlin code. So suppose you are creating a new project in Kotlin and you want to use your Kotlin library inside your Java library in your Kotlin code, you could just put a import statement and it will work just fine. Or converting Kotlin code to Java, you could also do in Android Studio. There is a feature which will like convert all of your Kotlin codes to Java, or converts, or vice versa. Like if you want to convert your Java code to Kotlin, both you can do. But to use Java code in Kotlin, you don't have to convert it to Kotlin. You can just use it as it is. Any other questions? Cool. So let's end this track. Stay tuned for session 2. Bye, guys.